Egyptians improve their army, and he ended up converting to Islam in Egypt. He went up the Nile, and if you read it, it'll make you cry, because a Nubian boy got very sick, and he had been looking after him, and when they left a certain place, Bethune English asked where was the Nubian boy. They said, oh, he was too sick, so we just left him there. He said, you just left him there? How could you do that? He said, no, go back and get him. They said, no, it's too late. He said, I'll pay whoever goes back and gets him. Somebody went back, but on the way, a Nubian man, a Sudanese, had found him and brought him on his camel to the caravan. When Bethune English found this out, he asked to see the man. He wanted to give him money, and the man said, I didn't do that for money. I did it for the sake of Allah. And he has a much greater reward. You know what Bethune English said to him? Find me somebody in this place that understands the true meaning of the Quran. It's just so tragic. So this thing has been going on for quite some time. So Fareed Zakaria wrote this book. It's a good book. I think there's some problems with it personally, but overall, it's a good book. Fareed's, I think he's trying. What he did say, Fareed said that when he was in India, he learned by rote memorization. When he got to Harvard, for the first time he was challenged to think. And he said that this was the liberal arts. And he said what's fascinating to him and tragic in a sense is that at a time when India is getting interested in the liberal arts, seeing it as perhaps the secret weapon of the Americans are abandoning their liberal arts tradition for the thing that the Indians have been pursuing for a very long time, which is what they call math, engineering, science, and technology, right? STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. These STEM, obsession with STEM, which has been the Muslim obsession for a very long time. They forgot their own tradition. So this is the problem. There's a move towards specialization and vocational training due to an increasingly complex society. So you need specialization. It's undeniable. You need it. But the basis of general education is in these. For those of you that are attending the lecture, I'm going to go because I'm running out of time. I'm going to go a little quicker. But we were accredited. Accredited means that you can issue degrees that other universities that are accredited recognize. So your students can transfer. Our students have gotten into law school, an excellent law school. Our students are going to medical school. So we have a pre-med option. We have Dr. Hatem, may Allah reward him, actually arranged a situation with the University of Berkeley where our students can take STEM courses if they want to do their medical undergrad work. They can take STEM courses while they're taking the program at Zaytuna. And so we have students that are going into medical school that have graduated. We have students that have gone to seminary. We have students that are doing American studies. And they're getting into all the graduate schools that they're applying to. None of our students have been turned away from any graduate schools that they've applied to. So this is happening. It's happening. The crisis of knowledge, I think Naqib al-Abbas, who's one of my heroes intellectually, has argued that the fundamental crisis in the Muslim world is a crisis of knowledge. And until we address that crisis, and Suhaib alluded to it, I think in some very brilliant ways, that the metaphysical foundations of society have been dislodged. Materialism is the dominant way of knowing in our society and civilization. And this has created a lot of problems. One of the things that Bayer Dodge, a brilliant scholar who wrote a book on Islamic education, he was also the president of the Protestant school in Beirut, the American university. He said that the Muslim education of the Middle Ages is rapidly being superseded by schools and universities which are both modern and secular. This widespread movement is so recent that it is impossible to tell how it will affect the cultural and social life of Islam. Well, if you want to know how it's affected it, look at all of these movements. Look at what's happening in the Muslim world and what's happened to our religion. This is how it's been affected. It is clear, however, that in this age of chaotic change, When members of the rising generation are confused by bewildering doubts, the reformers must not neglect the basic principles of medieval education, which were a search of spiritual truth and faith in the reality of Allah. That was a Christian Protestant. The Umayyad Mosque, college in Aleppo, Syria, built in 706 of the Common Era. This was one of the great teaching centers of our civilization. And look at it now. When you look at knowledge, knowledge is the organization of facts and data. What are facts? Factum in Arabic means it's what is made. Who made a fact? God made facts. What is data? Data in the Latin language means what is given. It's what's been given to you to understand your world, your alam. Organizing facts and data lead to knowledge. But knowledge is not enough. You have to have understanding. Because knowledge is knowing that. You can know, information is knowing that. You can know that a noun is a part of speech. But knowledge is knowing that there are 7 parts of speech. Or 8 parts of speech. Logic is understanding what those parts of speech are. But then you have to have wisdom, which is the wherefore of the knowledge, the reason for that. What are the reasons for those parts of speech? How are they used? And so knowledge, understanding, and wisdom is at the essence of our tradition. And we have focused too much on knowledge and too little on understanding and wisdom. And so we have people that have knowledge, but they lack understanding and wisdom. One of the few people that I've found in my lifetime in the Muslim world that I think has wisdom is Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya recently was asked about jihad. He said, نحن نؤمن بقدسية النص. We believe in the sanctity of the text. The text has a sanctity that we can't argue. الذين يجاهدون في سبيل الله. جاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم. Jihad is part of our religion. But he said, but we don't believe in the sanctity of the application of the nas. That is not a sanctified reality in our religion. It is wisdom to know when to apply the verse, in what situation to apply the verse. And anybody who knows the Anglo-Saxons, and this is my Irish speaking right now, anybody that knows the Anglo-Saxons know that cynicism is a profoundly embedded quality of many Anglo-Saxon people. The British are some of the most cynical people, especially when you get to the upper classes, right? Very cynical. We were being interviewed by a BBC journalist, and if you want cynicism, BBC journalist. He interviewed Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya. At the end of the interview, he turned to me and he said, I think this is the first time in my life I've ever been in the presence of a wise man. It was just such a testimony, you know. So there's a lot of good things about the English. All right. So that's my Muslim speaking now. This is a beautiful